lobby, but all over to you to welcome. Yes.
All right. Happy Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Valentine's Day to all over the world and the country. I hope that you fell in love and you're falling in love and you are in love. And thank you for the hearts. For those of you that are joining us for the very first time, this is UNISA Science Engagement Center's live online learning session. And the lady that you're seeing, her name is Dr. Hoos, and I'm the gentleman behind the desks. And for those of you that are watching the recording, thank you so much for taking time to watch the recording. And for those that are in-house, thank you so much also for taking time to join the session. Basic rules is that may you kindly please ensure that your microphones are always muted and you disable all your cameras. We don't want to see you yet. And feel free to write on the chat box if you do have any questions. And if you also have a pending question, feel free to raise your hand and we'll give it to you. Without wasting time, I'll hand over to Dr. Hoos. Over to you, Dr. Hoos.
Thanks, Tumelo. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So we've got a whole lot of stuff to do in 90 minutes. And so as Tumelo was saying, we are excited to have everybody with us. Lots of questions. So I'm going to go through Unit 3, which is about how do you solve problems using robotics. And then Unit 4 is what do you attach to a robot, to a basic robot, to make it do something. So that's what we call passive attachments. Passive attachments are not attached ever to a motor, and they use the robot's movement to add function to your robot. And then we want to open the floor. So Tumelo in the hub has got a Spike Prime, and he's going to demonstrate the Scratch programming. Also, the interns have got a Spike Essential, just to show you what the difference is. The bigger one is the Spike Prime, the smaller one is the Spike Essential. And the Spike Essential we use for grades 1, 2, and 3. And if there's time, they'll demonstrate that programming. And then I've got an EV3, and I will demonstrate the EV3 classroom coding. And you'll see that across the board, it's all the same. And then just to yesterday we got some questions about the PDFs. The presentations, I'll put them up on the M1 portal. And then there were a couple of questions after the session that you emailed, wanting to know where the content is and how to access the content, all that, the MOOC content. And so if we don't get to it today, we host a open session on a Friday at 3 o'clock, and we're happy to take you through that, all those details as well there. All right, so let us start. Thank you, Tumelo, for being in the lobby, and let's do some problem solving.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to put my camera off just to save a little bit. Here we go. All right, and now somebody needs to say they can see my screen.
100% you can see your screen.
All right, excellent. So one of the really most important things that you need to ensure that your learners understand well is the process of navigation. So how does a robot move from here to there? How does a robot get to a specific position? How does a robot move a given distance? And that is all linked to problem solving. Now, the problem solving in M1 is an introduction. By the time we get to M2 and M3, we're solving bigger problems. But in M1, we have no sensors on our robots. So really the problem solving is kind of calculating the mathematics. So working out the circumference of your wheel and working out the distance you need to travel and then dividing it. So that is what problem solving is about. It is a skill, and it is a skill that requires effort and time to develop. And so it falls under the realm of 21st century skills, but you have got a golden opportunity within the robotics class. Okay, so navigation itself is the ability of the robot then to move in an environment. But if the robot moves autonomously, then it's been programmed to do exactly that. So if you program the robot to do 2 rotations on the wheel, it will move 2 rotations on a wheel. Okay, so then there's other types of navigation. How does the robot move? If it hasn't got wheels, what has it got? The other question you can kind of contemplate is say, well, if you have sensor data, and which we're going to get to that in M2, how can that be used to add to navigation? So then your robot will not walk into the wall and it will not fall off a cliff, because it'll be able to do, with sensors, take measurements. Okay. And then the robot navigation techniques that can be used, and then autonomous navigation. Where autonomous is you program it and that's it. Where you tell the robot to go, that's exactly where it will go. Okay. But there's a process to problem solving, and there's usually a number of steps. It's not a thumb suck, it's not an ad hoc process. There's actually a process of problem solving, and it should actually come naturally to all your learners and to you as well with your robots. Okay. And then there are skills. There are a whole lot of the problem solving skills. Why are they important? Well, because nothing is always known. All right. There's a lot of unknown. You need to be able to look at something and not give up and say, well, I don't know how to do this. You need to be able to take the steps. All right. And there are steps. You see, you can name the steps. You can name the steps towards problem. I'm going to give you them now. And then there's techniques to solve the problems. I find with learners in primary schools, a lot of crayons, a lot of paper, and then we draw things and we talk about things. That is a technique. You can do brainstorming. There's a whole list of techniques that you can use, but make sure that everybody's included in the process. Don't walk in and say, this is the solution and this is how we're going to do it. That's not teaching anybody anything. Okay. But the thing about problem solving is it requires practice. Okay. It's just one of those 21st century skills that the learners do need to have. And I'm sorry, there's no in the textbook answer. And for many of us, a lot of patience and perseverance, and don't give the learners the answers. But there might not be only one correct answer. Okay. So there might be several answers and they need to find the answer. There might be a better answer, but that doesn't mean to say that their answer is wrong. Okay. It needs teamwork. You need to encourage problem solving and teamwork. You cannot memorize the correct answer. In fact, there is no correct answer when it comes to problem solving. Okay. So how are we going to apply this to robotics? So I'm going to give you an example. Where are we? So we have a robot and we need to make the robot move because we've done programming yesterday and we understand navigation. Okay. So there's that PS part. We're going to come to color sensors, touch sensors, ultrasonic sensors. We'll do that in M2, all right? Just not now. Okay, we need to program. All right. So whenever you do a problem-solving exercise, you kind of say, well, what is given or what is known and what do we have to do? What is required? Okay. And for now, we're just going to consider navigation and then only for wheeled robots. All right. This is my friend Tanya. She's got the solver method, and it's actually an engineering term, so because she's an engineer. But anyway, so it's called sketch it. So draw something, sketch it, then you write down what are the objectives, what are your observations, okay? Then you make a list. You make a list of the variables, and if there's equations that you can use, great. And then you manipulate everything, and there you have, ta-da, you have a way to solve a problem. Now, initially, we're going to go through it step by step. So we sketch it, and then we list the objectives, and then we list the variables and the equations. So it's a process. It's a process that you learn. All right, so here's the first problem we have to solve. All right, we put the robot at start, and we have to go a distance d, and we've got to stop at stop. All right, but the robot must move forward exactly the given distance. All right, so if that's the problem, so that's our sketch, okay? Now, what are the observations or what are the objectives? So that doesn't say if the robot must go forwards or backwards. Did you notice that? All right. And in theory, it didn't say whether the robot must speed, go very fast or very slow. Okay, so just a note, the EV3 block, we're going to program it in rotation. So if you have a big wheel and you have one rotation, you're going to get this far. But if you have a small wheel and one rotation, it's not going to go that same distance. So you need to find, okay, so you'll need to know which wheels you're using on your robots. And then you need to brake at the end of the motion. So the robot actually needs to brake at the line. And, okay, so now we need to put them all together. Those are our observations. Now we list our variables. So we know what the distance is. We actually took a tape measure and measured. It was 50 centimeters. We know what the circumference of the wheel is. We took a tape measure and measured around it. So it was 17.8. So now we can work out how many rotations we need. Ta-da! All right, there we go. So we do a little mathematical calculation. The circumference times the number of rotations must give you the distance. Okay, So then if you manipulate it a little bit, the number of rotations is the total distance divided by the circumference of the wheel. Somebody's mic is not muted. All right, so that's 8.1. Cool. So that's what we do. So that's the end of that problem. Everybody can do that. You solve it. You write move 2.81 rotations, and there we go, and it's done. All right. Right, now we go to problem number B. Again, we've got a robot over here. We've got a distance, and we've got a stop. But now we're measuring two things. Okay, the distance stays the same, but the time might change. And the time will change because we're going to change the power level of the motors. All right, so you can also think, if we have 100% power, so if we run a sprint, then we're going to get there faster than if we just stroll. Do you agree? The time is longer. All right, so the more power you have, the quicker you're going to do it, and the time is smaller. More power, less time. Okay, so well, you see, this is where it becomes difficult to measure the speed directly, and so sometimes I've got a modified version of this for the high school kids, but just generally, the robot must accelerate at start, so and then decelerate at the end. So what you can do is say, all right, we let it go before, and then we measure the time when it starts over the line and when it finishes over the line. Then we take that time. All right, and then you repeat it. You repeat it for different time, for different power settings, and then voila, you measure the time. So you'd have a list of variables. The distance stays the same. We made it 1.5 meters. Now here's a problem. There's 1.5 meters, but the circumference is 17.8 centimeters. So you must convert that to centimeters. So that's 150 centimeters. Then to do the calculation, we obviously divide the total distance by the circumference, and then we test it for different power levels. Okay, and so we have a table. So we do all the calculations, and we can work out the volume, the velocity, and then we have a table. So at power level 10, all right, what was the time? And speed is distance over time. The distance stays the same, and we calculate it. Then we change. It's a really good exercise to do with your class, okay? And let maybe one group do the 10, then the 20, then the 30, and then compare and let them increase. Because what you're actually thinking of is as the power level increases, the speed should increase. That's in the back of your head, and that comes from experience. All right. So what problems are we going to solve with robots? So there are missions in a challenge. And you'll see in the M1 assessment, there are a whole lot of different missions that you have to do, all right? And then you have to take each one and solve each one of them individually, all right? There's different building instructions, okay? If you had a problem that says you have to push a cup, all right, then you need a bumper. You need to push a cup over a line. There are many programming examples. There's online tutorials, and then there's YouTube channels, and we'll share with that as we go along. So there are examples. However, if you want to read how they teach, teach is very lightly taken because teach is, I don't think you can teach problem solving. I would rather say you can develop problem solving skills. And that takes time and patience with your learners. But it's worthwhile all the way. Okay. This is for you as coaches because, and this is a Mr. Hino video. And it's good that you read or through it or watch the video, because sometimes it's the robot itself that needs the problem solving. And you as the coach need to be able to debug or diffuse a problem much quicker than your learners. So it'll be good for you to have in the back of your head a number of things that could go wrong. And one of the biggest issues is that cables or wires are not plugged in properly, or in the wrong holes. And so you as coaches, you'll need to preempt when there's some problem solving, especially when your learner comes and says, my robot doesn't want to work. Okay, if your robot doesn't want to work, you have to solve it. Okay, so if you look in M1 overview document, there are a whole lot of activities that you can do. So how does the robot draw your the first letter of your name? Okay, how must the robot move around a square or around a shoebox? Or how must the robot move in a rectangle around a box? Or how must the robot move in a circle around a bucket? Okay, these are all problems that you can solve, and it's simply using senseless navigation. So just ordinary programming to figure out what your robot must do. Okay, And then there are tasks that must be completed. And that is the end of Unit 3. I'm just going to stop sharing and see whether there are any questions. Jamila, are there any questions?
No questions so far. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do have a question, feel free to raise your hand, or you can simply type on the chat. If you cannot type on the chat, please let us know by simply raising your hand. And for those that have joined us recently, please note that this is open for discussion. If you do have any questions based on what Dr. Gous was educating us on, please feel free. There we go. I see Lily Potter's hand. Go ahead.
Hi, Lily. Lily.
I think these microphones are jealous, eh?
Yeah.
Lily, we see that you tried to unmute yourself, but when you talk, we cannot seem to hear you. Perhaps you can write on the chat box, or you can.
Hear me now?
There we go. Yes.
Sorry, I was connected to a speaker. I've got girls working on robots behind me, so that's why I'm on speaker. Okay, I can't type in the chat. Can you please give me permission if you don't mind?
All right.
I can't see the chat either.
Okay, we'll have to now really sort this out. Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you.
I think we have to do that as soon as the meeting finishes, Dr. Gous.
Yeah.
But do you have perhaps a specific question, Lily? Perhaps instead of typing it, since you are already stood up in class and everyone can see you, perhaps you can tell us what did you want to write on the chat?
No, I just want to see the chat for in case I miss something and somebody else got a question, so I can see it and just keep track of what's going on. Maybe they've got something that pops in my head too, and I'm not thinking about it. That's the only reason I would like to see the chat.
All right, okay. Noted. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I also see Khumutso's hand is up. Go for it, Khumutso.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hi.
We are well, thank you.
All right, thank you. So my question is, I missed yesterday's meeting. Sorry, I do afternoon classes, so I was unable to engage very well in the meeting. So I've been teaching kids robotics, but then we've been using different robotics that you are using. We've been using like solar panels. We've been using solar panels and like other little robotics that they can connect. And I'm interested for them to use the ones that you are using right now that you are demonstrating to us. Is there a possibility whereby maybe I can bring kids, because I don't have like the robotics that you are using. So I want to ask if is there a possibility for us maybe to visit you guys at UNISA for my kids to get to participate with the robotics that you are using?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So can I engage with you more, like to get to understand the logistics?
Absolutely. Just send us an email on the I-SET email. Where is your school?
It is in Soweto, just not far from.
Yeah, it's close. Awesome. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It'd be good to have visits.
Khumutso, where is the school? Soweto is big. Me, I'm staying in South Africa.
Okay. It's at Doronkop. So Doronkop is next to Dobsonville.
All right. Okay. I don't know whether you can see my screen. This is our email address, Khumutso. You can send us an email there, and then we can attend to you.
All right. Thank you very much.
And that also goes for all those who are keen on inviting us or who would like to send us an email regarding anything related to today's program. This is the email address that you are welcome to use, the one that I've just highlighted. All right.
Okay.
Let me check whether do we still have any other hands. All right. It was Khumutso and Lily. So far, all is well, Dr. Gous. Thank you.
Thank you, Tumelo. Okay, so I'm going to give you, I've got a couple of built models here. I'm just, in the interest of time, I'm just going to now quickly move on. So if you have a robot, what happens is that we need to attach things so that they have more function. If you just build a robot and you need to collect something or grab something, I think my laptop is now going. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Tumelo, I need you to just to carry on with the programming. I'm just going to swap over computers quickly, if you can.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I think I can give an opportunity to our fellow colleagues. Kindly please share your screen and then show us the basic type of programming. I don't know who would like to start. While they are sharing their screen, for those of you who have a question, please feel free to raise your hand. And then we can see your screen, Pilani. While they are busy showing us their screen, if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask us. Otherwise, I'll hand over to Pilani. We can see your screen. Thank you so much. Oh, wait, before I allow you, I see Barry has a hand up. Barry, your hand is up. Barry, your hand is up. Feel free to unmute yourself. All right. Let's see, Barry was not able to talk. Oh, your microphone is unmuted, but we cannot hear you, Barry. I'll hand over to Pilani and the team to present. Over to you.
All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, we can.
So this is an example of a spike essential robot. Can you all see the robots?
Can you please take out this new project 5, icon blocks, word blocks thing? I can only see that one.
So with the spike essential, usually we use icon blocks instead of word blocks. Right, so you're just gonna click icon blocks and then create. So you're gonna see all those different blocks there. So those blocks, they represent the wheel. So for instance, when I put it here on when start program, because the yellow one is usually the when program starts. So when program starts, I would like my wheel to run anti-clockwise. Or I can add the rotations there for 3 rotations. After that, I would like my wheel to run clockwise for also 3 rotations. So for this one, if you also want maybe a sound, you can just use this tab. So there's different sounds there. Okay, there is just a dot and then a whistle. Okay. All right. So you can choose any sound that you want there. So now we're just gonna choose number 5. Right. So if maybe you still want your program to continue, let's say you have chosen number 5 and you still want it to run anti-clockwise and clockwise again, you can still do that just so that your program is a bit long. And we're gonna have the same number of rotations. Okay. It's showing here. Okay. So now I'm just gonna connect. Right. So when we are connecting, we can just go to connect. Okay, so this one was on Spike Prime, sorry. Now I just changed to Spike Essential because this is the Spike Essential. Like this. So this is our program and we have successfully connected our hub. So let's just run and see how the robot is going to move. We have instructed it to move anti-clockwise for 3 rotations, clockwise, and then make a sound and then do the same again. Oh, let me just fix this. Okay. Let's play. Okay, so that is from the program that we just made. So usually with the Spike Essential, even though these are wheels, if you're using the code blocks, they're not gonna move forward or backward. They're just gonna be rounding in circles like this, anti-clockwise or clockwise. So I don't know if maybe there are any questions.
Do you have any other questions from Q? Q, your hand was up. Yes. Your microphone is unmuted, but we can't hear you. Your microphone is unmuted, Q. Or perhaps you'll try again later. Let's give them an opportunity to explain this other programming, and then perhaps your microphone might be better. Thank you. Oh, wait, I see there's a hand from Mrs. Venter. Go for it, Mrs. Venter.
Just a suggestion for the attendees. Because there's 2 screens being used to display. If you want to see the program, just click on the screen with the program. And if you want to see the robot move, just click on the user ID where the robot is actually moving. It just makes the screen bigger, so it's easier to see what the impact is of the program that was just run.
Thank you, Mrs. Venter. I see Dr. Hoos is in-house. And your microphone seems to be muted, Dr. Hoos. You'll be back. All right, let me hand over to Pilani. Over to you, Pilani. Can we all hear Pilani as he's talking?
No.
All right. I'm going to ask that he checks his microphone. Dr. Holes, I see your microphone is also unmuted, and we can't hear you as well. All right, over to you, Pilani.
Can you now hear me? Okay, so what you're seeing there is a Spike Prime robot. It is called driving. Yes, you find the instructions from the app when you go to Spike Prime, and there are a lot of robots there you can build. You just choose which one you want to build. So I'm trying to share the screen here so that you can see the programming. Can you share the screen?
I need a robot.
We are having a bit of technical issues here. I can't share my screen.
Okay, while they are busy trying to share their screen, perhaps we might have anyone on the group who might be a first-time user of Spark Essential or Spark Prime, and you might have any questions. Our presenters will definitely answer your questions. Feel free to unmute yourself. Dr. Host?
I just want to ask that they add the hamburger coding at the bottom of that piece of code. Just add the end code, otherwise your robot's not going to stop properly.
Okay.
Thank you,
You go
Mbata.
to. Okay, I'm thinking.
Show the rest of the participants how you're going to add the end code to that. Thank you.
Okay, so to end the code, you can go to control and take the last block there, which is written stop all. And then you just sandwich it here, and then your programming will stop. Do we see the screen? I couldn't share it, so we are using a rear camera here.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, can we run the robot now? Just for demonstration.
Before you run the robot, I think I saw a hand up and it went back. Do you have any questions regarding the Spark Prime or the Spark Essential? This is an opportunity for you to ask. Remember, this one is different from the EV3 classroom. Anyone from our online participants? All right, I'll hand over to Pilani.
Okay, so the programming for this one is almost the same as the inventory one. So you can just experience. You have to run it in you have to run it in a safe environment, not just like this one. It's in a stable environment.
I see Tandiwe's hand is up. Maybe they have a question. Tandiwe, over to you.
Good day. I wanted to know, can I use the same program for Studio Bricklink?
Bricklink Studio is a design package, ma'am. So it's just for the designing of the robots.
Oh,
this is Scratch.
Okay.
This is Spike Prime. This is Spike Prime code, and it's downloadable onto the hub. I'm just going to ask one of the interns just to demonstrate how do you get the code onto that brain.
Okay.
Tamela, if you can just explain how do you get the code onto that brain?
Can we use this brain?
You're on? So if you can see the screen, they're going to show you the screen now, ma'am. And then you write your code on your laptop or your tablet. And then you have to actually download it onto the brain. That little thing that's showing now, that is the brain or the hub. Okay. And that code goes onto that. And then you run the code from that hub.
Sorry, Dr. Khoza, I think I missed the question. I heard you calling my name.
I just wanted to know how to explain how to get the code onto that hub. So just,
yes.
If you see it there on the screen, just show them where you download it onto the little hub. There at the bottom of the screen, there's two arrows. There we go. And then you download it onto the hub. Okay.
I think for the purposes of our online participants, it was going to be helpful if they started programming from scratch, just to demonstrate where they got those icons and explain what are the icons for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Team on the other side, can you do that? Just clear that part and explain which one is which, so that for the likes of Tandiwe or whoever who's watching this and it's their first time using this, they can understand and they can see some similarity between the Spark Prime as well as the Spark Essential.
Okay, so I'm going to start over the programming so that everyone can see it. So you just click the Home tab, and then you create new project, and you'll be using word blocks for this one.
Sorry, Palani, is that Spark Prime?
Yes, it's Spark Prime.
Okay, awesome. Just for the record, awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
And then, so sorry to cut you there, Pilani. For those who might have questions regarding the Spark Prime, and for those that is their first time that they might be using the Spark Prime, I think this is a very good opportunity for you to ask us questions. And just raise your hand and then we'll take it from there. Over to you, Pilani.
Okay, so the program always starts with this block here when program starts, and then we are going to go to movement so that we can set up our motors. So we use this block here.
Can I kindly please stop you there? Sorry, Pilani. Can I ask that your camera become portrait because it's landscape? There we go.
Okay, is it visible now?
Yes, it's all better right, for the views.
We drag this block here, which is written set movement motors C and D. And then you check where you connected your motors from your robot. And then you're going to adjust those letters according to your connections there. And then you need to take this one, which is written set movement speed to 50%. So you are not obliged to always use 50%. You can just use whichever amount of speed you want to set up your robot to run at. And then you are going to take the first block here, which is written moving forward. So you decide how far you want to go, so you can move for 3 rotations, for example, because we don't have much space here, so we can just use 2 or 3 rotations just for demonstrations. Now, if you want to turn your robot, you are going to go to the blue tab, which is written motors. And then you firstly pick up this block here, which is written set speed to 75%. This block is essential because we wouldn't want to turn too quickly and disrupt the mission. For example, if you have to pick up something, so if you turn too quickly, you might miss it. So this block is essential for those situations. So maybe we can just use 20% so that it does not turn too much. And then we take the second block, which is the first one from the programming there, and then you also check where you connected your wheel you want to turn. For example, if you want to turn right, then if you want to turn left, then you have to run the right wheel. If you want to turn right, then you have to run the left wheel. So you will check where you connected your ports there, and then you adjust it as accordingly. For example, this one for mine is connected to D. The right one is connected to D, so I'm just going to put D here so that I can turn it. And then I can maybe move forward after turning. It depends on what you want to do. Okay, we take this block and put it here. And then maybe if this is where the program ends, then you go to control and then you stop the program. It's the last block here, it's written stop. Oh, I don't know why it's bouncing back. And then you take it and put here and sandwich the program. And then you can press play just for demonstration. Okay, so that is exactly how it works according to the program, but make sure it does not run way too forward that it bumps on objects. So if there are any questions, I can gladly answer them. Any questions?
Any questions from our online participants? There we go, Lusanda.
Yes, I just want to know from the presenter the importance of setting the speed of the motor before you code the motor itself, because there's two codes there. One code for the motor is regarding to the speed, and the next one on the turn of the motor. So sometimes when we code with my learners, we normally don't worry too much about setting the speed of the motor, but just to turn the motor according to its degrees. So I just want to know the importance of this, of setting the speed of the motor before you tell the motor which rotation it must go to.
So as I've explained before, for example, the second block on our program there, which is written set movement speed 50%, it is used to set up speed for both of the motors for both wheels. So you need to be specific now when you want to turn, which wheel you want to turn and how fast you want to turn. And it also depends on what you are trying to do. Like I said, if the mission you have to pick up balls, for example, it won't be easy if you turn up too quickly. So this is why this block is essential.
No, I don't understand now. When you are saying on set speed, you are controlling both motors, whereas it says here is motor D. Is it gonna control two motors, or is it gonna control only motor D?
I was referring to the pink one, which is written set movement speed, that it is used to set up speed for both motors. You see the second one from the program, the second one, which is
no,
pink.
Please zoom in a bit.
The first one I'm sure set movement motors is C+D. I'm referring to the blue one, to the blue code, or to the blue.
Okay.
Because according to my understanding, you set motor D on the speed of 20%. So my question is it a must? Now I'm referring to myself, how I code with my learners. Is it important?
Okay, can I respond to that?
Okay.
Yes, it is a must because, like you said, if you turn too quickly, you might not be able to do certain mission that you want to do. So this one, you just set up the speed, how fast you want to turn your robot, so that maybe you can cause some trouble if you turn too quickly. So that's why I say this block is essential, so that you can slow down the turning speed.
Pilani, I see you said D's speed goes to that and then C run for that. Is it not supposed to be the same? I'm sure. I think that's where you're confusing. Yeah.
Easy.
Now it's clarified, Lusanda. Ne?
That's why I got confused. Thank you.
Yeah. And then from what Pilani was saying is that normally when you turn, it's advisable to set your speed of turning as Pilani suggested. For example, if you don't set it, the robot might turn a bit quicker or slower. So based on how you want your robot to turn and the mission that you want it to complete, it's relevant in that way for you to set the speed. Remember, you are the one who's controlling the robot and not the robot controlling you. I see Dr. Kho's hand is up. Dr. Khos, your microphone is unmuted, but we cannot hear you. Perhaps you can try to log in and log out again, or just mute and unmute and talk. Tutaneng, I see your hand is up, and then I saw Maluleka's hand as well.
Good afternoon, colleagues.
Good afternoon.
Yes, you are speaking to Mpho Nkuna. Yes, I'm currently based. My site it's Hopulevos, but I'm attending online with Mr. from Tutani. So now I want to see here. It's not a question, but it's a comment. I think the best way of turning, if you are saying that you're going to turn left or right, after turning, please make sure that you stop your program. Then that way it becomes accurate when you turn, because when you turn, you stop your motors, then the program resets itself to the setup. Then it will turn very much fine. It's what I wanted to say.
You mean, for example, put wait instead of stop?
You can just put stop after the blue code. You can stop. Then, oh sorry, before the blue code, because what we want is that after turning, there should be no any other what we call it speed that is happening on the wheels. It should stop, then you continue with your movement.
Normally we say wait for 1 second or wait for 2 seconds. We don't normally put stop, but that's debatable. Thank you so much. Any other thing from you, Mpoza?
I am okay for now, Chief.
Thank you so much. Q, your hand is up, and Lusanda, your hand was also up.
Yes, I was also wanted to ask the same question that you asked, whether we stop or we wait for a second. That's where I'm getting confused. But I see you taking that question, and I'm interested to know whether we wait or we stop.
It's normally suggested.
Yeah, I agree that after the 10, there must be something kind of a pause. But is it gonna be a wait or a stop?
Normally we suggest to the robot to wait. Perhaps show us where we can get the wait option, Pilan.
So you can just use the wait tab, which is on the control yellow mustard circle there. You can just use it to divide these two blocks. I don't know if it's feasible. I've added it right there next to the turning. Yes, is it fine?
Any other questions from our participants? Dr. Khos, your hand was up. I see you are back. And we still cannot hear you. Mpho, your hand is still up, and Q. Oh, Thomas, go for it.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just checking there now. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Is my mic also off?
No, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So I'm just taking a look there, right? Set motors, set movement motors C and D. I see you guys are using D for the motors. Is it correct to use it that way, or should the motors be C and D always? And then we use A and D for our sensors. I'm not sure if I'm making sense though or not. Can you guys see?
For this one, it depends where you connected your left wheel. So for example, my left wheel is connected to D, so that's why I put D there, so that I can turn my robot. So if you connected it to C, maybe you can just put C on those blocks there.
Okay then. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thomas, do you have an EV3 or a spike?
We've got EV3s, Dr. Host.
So with the EV3, it's essential that you actually keep two specific ports for your inputs and your outputs. Whereas with the spike, you are more flexible with which port you utilize.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Or perhaps they'll show you where the wheels are, because remember with the Spark Prime, the benefit of it is that as you click on where your motors are connected, it will definitely show you on where your ports are.
Okay.
Perhaps demonstrate that part, please.
Okay, I can see.
Sorry, what was the question? I didn't get it. Can you please repeat it?
Excuse me, sir?
Yes, I didn't get the question about the turning of the wheels. Can you please just rephrase it?
Anzani's question, or the one I asked first? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, so yeah, the question I asked initially, right, is that because we're using EV3s, right? So I was just informed that it's important to stick to using only two certain ports for our larger motors, right? So mainly I use the ports B and C for my larger motor, for the two wheels, right? And then if I do have an additional motor, then I would make use of either A or D. But usually I would keep A and D for my sensors when I use EV3.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if it's correct, or you guys can just instruct me on how to properly use the ports.
I think it's correct, as long as you be able to put on your additional sensors if you want to add some more stuff.
Okay then. No, thanks. That's fine. Thanks.
No problem.
Hand is up from Pedro. Pedro, your hand is up. Pedro, please feel free to unmute yourself. All right, Pedro.
Yes, Dumelo.
Yes, how are you, Pedro? I'm listening, Pedro. Go for it. I can't hear you anymore, Pedro. Dr. Host, perhaps you wanna.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yes, now we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I just want to answer Mr. Thomas.
Okay.
Because with the EV3, for the motors, we use A, B, C, and D, and then with the sensors, we put them on 1 until 4.
That's right.
With the EV3, yeah.
All right. That's why I was saying there, where there's a D, Pilani simply needs to press there so that he shows you where the connections are. But thank you so much for clarifying that. Dr. Hoos, are you back? Thank you so much, Pedro.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, yes.
Okay, but I'm on my phone and I can't share my screen, so it's like really a crazy situation here.
Shucks.
Yeah, we're in the middle of load shedding and I'm not winning here. But I'm going to try and send you the presentation to Miller.
You can quickly do so while we take questions.
Okay.
I see there's a question from, Is it Chandi or Kandi?
How are you?
I'm well, thanks. And yourself? Kindly please pronounce your name.
It's Shandi.
Shandi. There we go. Sorry for pronouncing it incorrectly.
Cool. Okay, so I've got two questions. I know on the EV3, the hub has an option to work out the degrees when you turn the wheels.
Yes.
So I know, do the Prime also have the same option on the hub?
Correct. Please demonstrate that. Oh, it's Putelezi now. Zinhle, please demonstrate that on the programming. Please demonstrate that you can also use the degrees, the seconds, or the rotations, because Shandi says...
I'm asking on the robot. You can, yes. Then you can turn the wheels and the robot gives you the exact degrees that the robot has to turn to get that distance.
Normally you would go where it says connect. And then let's see. Elmarie can correct me as well as other ones. Just click on the hub there so that it can be demonstrated. Please click on the hub, Zinhle.
As soon as it's connected, it can show you the readings.
All right.
Okay.
So my second question is, isn't it better to use the robot hub to turn the wheels, get the degrees from the robot itself, and then you can just program the degrees into your programming to make it more accurate?
I don't know whether you can hear us. We are experiencing load shedding from the side. To answer your first question, I'm going to try to share my screen, and I'm going to ask some of my team members to check on the lobby as well. There we go. Share screen. So you can see my screen, Shandi?
Yes, I can, thanks.
So normally, this is your Spark Prime software. And then when it has been connected, this part here, it will be green in color. So when you simply click on it, and then when your connections are there, so what you do, you can rotate your wheel manually, and then it will definitely show you from this side. That's what I was trying to ask from that other side of the team to show you. But we can even continue this conversation even tomorrow. And then to answer your second question was, sorry for that.
It's instead of using rotations to work out, and it might be inaccurate if your mathematics side isn't correct. Isn't it better to use the degrees from the hub of the robot and then put that into your programming?
You see, I love your question, Shandi. Sorry to cut you there. This part, it's more debatable because remember here, normally after programming your robot, I'll ask Zinhle just to show us the robot so that I can show you the pointer. So normally, whenever you use the pointer is there so that it just gives you an indication of saying that these are the number of rotations that your robot can go. For example, normally with the EV3, we know that the circumference is 17.5 centimeters, and then we know that one rotation is 17.5 centimeters. So now, when this one happens, this will be up to you whether you still stick to rotations or you go to centimeters or degrees. So that part, it will be dependable on which one you find it comfortable. But I would suggest that, for example, if you go to the Spark Prime, you first need to find out the circumference of the wheel, and then you take your measurements from there. But
Okay.
other people can have a different input as well. Thank you so much for your lovely questions. Those are very great. Pedro, I see your hand is up.
Tumelo.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's stuck somewhere. This hand is stuck. I finished talking already.
Yeah. All right, no problem. Mpo, your hand is
All
up, followed by Dr. Khos.
Yes, leadership. I'm not so sure whether the lady who was asking a question, is she correctly answered? But
Okay.
what I get from her question is that can you program using a robot? Yes, it's possible. There is this sensor, I think it's called the tilting one, the gyro sensor, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the one that senses the distance, yes.
No, there is not the distance one. There is another one
For the movements. The one that goes with the movements. Okay, yes. What about it?
Yes. If she can look on the internet, YouTube videos, there is this way of making a turn, getting a code from using a robot. You plug in the sensor, I forgot its name, then you make the 90 degrees turn, then it writes the code for you. I don't know whether I'm making sense.
All right, Mposa, I
you
think
take
this
your
is now.
robot, you connect it.
You have introduced another question for us, and I'll give you homework and say that please demonstrate that to us tomorrow, so that we can even show you what we can do, and that will be very grateful for you to do as well.
Yeah, you know what's my problem, leadership?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what's my challenge? I don't have the prime kit with me, so that's the challenge. But I will try to look for the video, then I can just come and I'll share my screen to demonstrate it from the video.
All right.
Great.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Mposa. Dr. Khos.
Hi, everybody. Okay, now can you hear me?
There we go, 100%.
And my camera's working. Woo!
But you are blurry.
I'm blurry.
Yes, I don't know, is it me only, but it's not your camera, it's due to load shedding and network and alles, you know?
Okay, all right. Okay, well, I won't be long in my picture, then I think we've had really interesting discussions. I'm sensing with this session is far too short, but I would like to finish Unit 4 quickly, and then we can carry on the conversation, if that's okay with everybody. Tumelo, is that okay?
Shoot, yes, Dr. Khos.
Shoot, wrong verb. Okay, so the Unit 4 is about attaching or attachments onto a robot. So I'm just going to use an example. This is Mario, the robot. And so if Mario has to go and collect something, it's not actually going to work because there needs an attachment. And what we're talking about today is passive attachments. It's little things that you can attach to your robot. So this one in front of it will be able to collect things. I'm going to show you some demonstrations. On the outset, though, I want to say there are several building instructions, but actually the most amazing designs is when your learners start designing their own passive attachments. And you'll find them working with their hand. It must go like this, or it must go like that, or like, and they must lift something, or so to figure out the function, they usually use their hands and they explain what must be done, and that's converting it into design, and that's where the engineering design process comes in. So I'm going to share my screen because I'm back on track, hopefully. And I want to thank the rest of the team for all the practical demonstrations as well. In the meantime, I am sensing there are lots more questions. All right, let's just go with this. All right, can you see my screen?
We can definitely see your screen, Dr. Khos. And I just want to add on something.
Yes,
for those that are doing the I-SET Robotics M1 Unit 1, 2, 3, and 4, These presentations are so relevant. I'll keep my mouth closed. Continue, Dr. Foss.
Thank you, Tamela. All right. So the passive attachments are always without any power. We're going to do on M2, we're going to do motorized or powered attachments, but we're just doing passive attachments in this unit. And what it is, I'm going to share some resources for the designing and building of these attachments, but I really want you to step out and say, how can we build our own? What do we need to do? And so it's always form and function. So the form of your attachment is determined by the function that you need to achieve. So if you look again in your overview document and you'll read, there's a whole lot of steps. There's the things to guide you. What are the steps in building? What are the steps in programming? What are the constraints? What are the risks? These are all things that you need to do. And again, as in all the previous units, there are a whole lot of detail in that unit that you can read through. Okay, so for example, the engineering design process has got a number of steps. So you first got to ask her, what's the problem? What you know, where are you? What do you have? Okay, and then the brainstorming is the imagine part, where you sit with your team and you say, okay, so how can we do this? And then you kind of choose the best one. Do not you, as the coach, choose the best one. The team needs to come to a consensus. What is the best one? And I drawing diagrams. I draw diagrams from step 1 already, but make a list of what needs to be done. And then you create it. So you've got a plan, you create it, and you've got to test it. Learning, you cannot be wrong. Every experience is part of your learning journey. Okay, and then there's always improvement. You never build the best robot. If teams come into competitions and say, man, we built this first robot first time, this is our only design, then I'm questioning. No. Did you really test it? Can you not think of any way of making it better, making it more efficient? So there always needs to be improvement. And then you go through the circle again. All right. So that's the engineering design process. And what I want to show you today is how do we apply it to building robot attachments? Well, you can build them with robots too, but that's a whole new kettle of fish. All right. And so I'm going to show you a number of examples. I am all for, and I have a whole box of attachments here. I have got attachments from many years. Some the teams built, I have no idea what they were used for, but they're really cool designs. Okay, and that is the important part. The teams knew what they had to do. All right. So when it comes to passive attachments, you have to consider the verbs. She's back to English again, or back to language. All right. So what is the verb? The verb is if you have to push something, pull something, collect something, deliver something, lift something, drop something, fix something. So those are your verbs. Okay. Obviously, if you have to push a feather and if you have to push a tin of condensed milk, which is my favorite, it's two different pushes. If you have to pull something, if you just need to pull a string, well, that's easy. If you've got to, I don't know, if you've got to pull a 10-ton truck, that's a different thing. Collect, what are you collecting? If you're collecting just one single chocolate bar, that's easy. If you've got to collect a gazillion marbles, that's different, okay? So first think of the verb and then get your team to think, what do we actually need to do? All right, so we're on passive attachments, just to remind you, the powered attachments we're doing on M2. All right, so here's the first one. It's a trigger attachment. So just, and this robot looks a bit funny, but it's built like this to make sure that you understand that there are absolutely no motors attached to this passive attachment. So what we need to do is we need to drop, that's the verb, we need to drop the ball into the bucket. All right. What we have here is a, it's just your pivot point. It's just a normal pivot point. I'll show you just now. So this PC here is attached to the robot's chassis, and this is loose here. All right, and inside here is then your pivot point. Okay, can you see that if the robot moves forward, this little trigger will hit the side of the bucket and will push the ball into the bucket? Okay, so it moves forward, that hits the bucket, and the ball will go in. All right, so what are the constraints? Well, the constraints are, first of all, that this passive attachment needs to be higher than your bucket, otherwise it's not going to fall in. Then you've got to make sure that this length is sufficient to push into, and it's got to have free movement because it's got to go backwards. All right, right. Now this was for a stress ball. If you want to make it for ping pong balls ain't going to sit on this thing. They're going, so you'd probably need to have a little wall or something over here. That is where you redesign. Okay, here again is just a straightforward, it's a version of this. It's a little bit wider, okay? and you attach it with these connector pins on the front of your robot. Now, if your attachment goes forward, all right, we are going to gather. So we're going to either deliver or push. You push something in there. All right, here we go. So we move. So if the things are, we can either move it forward and then come back, or we can collect. So it means we go forward and then we come around, okay, and then we bring it back in the attachment. It's a passive attachment. It's quick and easy. All right. Now, the other one is we can have a gate on the front. So you have gates. I just can't find my attachment, but it has so it flaps up to let things in, but it mustn't be able to go that way as well. So you need to have some way of mechanism that holds it. So the gate flaps up inside when you go over it, and when you come back, then it's locked. All right. So here's some examples. This is the carabiner. The carabiner is that thing that you hook when you go mountain climbing. It hooks on, so it's got a flick attached. There are several designs, but try and see whether you can build a carabiner. The fork is if you've got something with a hoop and you need to pick it up. All right. The favorite is the bumper, just straightforward bumper. But sometimes a straightforward bumper is not enough. You need to, I know it's going to roll, especially with your ping pong balls. So you need to have more like a plow so you can gather up your attachment, gather up your obstacles. All right, there's the pivot. That's the thing I just showed you now. That's a pivot point trigger. There was the gate. Okay, so if you're attached to the front, here the white part is attached to the robot, and you move forward, the gate will flap up or flap down. I see there's a point there. I must take that point out. But there must be some way to close it. All right. I think this is going to go the other way. It should have been flapped the other way. All right. A hook, straightforward, single hook. High risk, though, because you have to be very sure that you're actually going to get your loop. I would prefer a multiple hook. All right. A delivery box. Sometimes you just need to push something there, and it must stay there. A ping pong ball never stays where it's pushed. All right. So you build a delivery box. The passive attachment, the bumper or the plow, so it depends how you put it. So you either gather like that or you divide like that, and it goes like that in front of your robot. Okay, so when you're designing robots, you can follow building instructions. It's very fast and straightforward, but it's not your team's attachment. What you are teaching them is building this frame of reference, which I mentioned right in the beginning, because you apply existing knowledge to expand their knowledge. But there comes a point in your classroom where you say, now you need to explore your own. And so the explanation, following a building instruction is fine, but the exploration, the brainstorming, the design, creativity, I'm just going to warn you, it might take a little bit of time, and your learners might not get it right first time, but they can carry on until they've got their design. And the creativity is amazing, absolutely amazing. All right. So if you look again, it's got all these objectives. Now, if you go and look at your overview document, you've got, again, 7 objectives. You don't need to build all these, all right? But I would highly recommend that you divide the class, and at least 2 by 2, they build at least a model. Build a model so they can explain what it is. You remember you're building a frame of reference, okay? You don't have to build them. You don't have to. But it's highly recommended. It's part of your learning. And if you have a model, that you can show, all right? So your objectives then is how you need to push with the bumper. So build a bumper and see whether you can push things, okay? Build a delivery box and see whether you can push with a delivery box, all right? Build a motion trigger and see whether you can actually deliver something. Build a box track and see whether you can use it. It's good exercises. You need to build up that frame of reference. Okay, so once you've got the building and the programming little examples done, now you come over to the activities. And here's a whole lot of activities. Choose 1, choose 3, do all, divide them, let each team choose something to do, and then they can explain what works and what doesn't work. All right. It's actually just the fun part of it. And you can find different things to push and pull and collect and hook and all kinds of things. So there's a whole lot of activities. In the ideal world, I would say let at least divide it in your classroom and let teams choose to do it. If you have enough time, remember we're doing term 1 is just M1 and M2. You've got lots of time. If you can choose 3 or 4, or if you have the whole class doing something. But I really do suggest that you have a model of each of these. All right. So how we design. Somebody mentioned earlier on Bricklink Studio. Bricklink Studio is amazing because you can design things in Bricklink Studio. You have all the resources available. But I'm now reaching out to you when your team start building like awesome attachments like this, all right? And you want to keep it. All right, you want to have a kind of some memory of it. I would highly suggest that the really cool attachments, please do some reverse engineering to keep these, and then you can share them with other teams and say these are amazing attachments. And obviously you'll need to explain what it actually does. But you can see our learners get very excited and designing their own things. But you can't keep these models forever because you don't have enough pieces. But if you at least capture this design in Bricklink Studio, then you can share that with the building. Bricklink, there is actually a tutorial on Bricklink Studio, and we will be presenting a workshop in the live online learning session soon. Okay, all right. For the types of attachments, I've got 2 books that I reference. The one is the Winning Designs, but it's an older book. I think there's a PDF available on the internet. I'm hoping they bring out a winning design for Spike Prime 2. I'm hoping for that. There's another one. It's called EV3 Idea Book. And Yoshihito has got a number of books out with no words in it. All right. And so they are available online, and he asks for a donation if you're just going to use them. I've got the paper versions. If you want to start buying a collection of reference books, I would highly recommend No Starch Press. They have got lots of specials for all kinds of family days, and so they've always got specials going, and it's just always good, makes it for good reading if you want to read through the books. Okay, so those are 2. There's lots of EV3 books out, and I felt it was very much like when we moved from NXT to EV3. It was suddenly like this, there's no resources, and now we've got all the EV3 resources, and now we've moved on to Spike Prime. But it's fine. I am looking for people who want to help me. So if you're eager to join us, we can always recreate some of these EV3 attachments into Spike Prime. It's just an idea. All right. So passive attachments, remember, there's no additional programming. There is always a verb. All right. You can push, pull, sweep, drop. Okay. And it must be easy to attach. And so this thing just clicks in and then it clicks out. Once that mission is done, you need to move on to the next attachment. So it pins onto the chassis, usually with connector pins. All right. And so our examples are the bumper, the plow, the container, and the hook. All right. There are some attachments, building instructions on EV3 lessons. There's a thing on passive attachments. There's one attachments for competition robots, and there's the link for that. To identify passive attachments. So here is kind of the reverse of it. All right, and this is where learners learn the other way around. So let them watch videos. I've got 2 links there. Let them watch the videos, and then let them identify. So where are the passive attachments? Where are and you'll see later where are the powered attachments and where are the sensors. And so they must learn to look with comprehension at things and maybe understand it a bit better. All right, and this is thanks to Casper, because my favorite color is green. These are the models. These are the models that we have. It's a lot of models that have been built over the years, but it's good kind of teaching ground or training ground to build different models. Okay, and that is the end of Unit 4. I'm really encouraging you to go out and to build these models, and you don't have to build them all, but in the ideal world you would definitely build at least a few of them. All right, and then add them to your robot and test whether they work. All right, so that was Unit 4. Those are the attachments. Those are, we've done a lot in 2 days. We've done a general introduction to building the chassis. We've done a very general introduction to programming. I hear there are lots more questions. Then and today we did navigation, how to apply the programming to solve the problem. But you first need to solve the problem. You first need to know what you're doing. It's not just a case of sitting down in front of the laptop and saying, okay, now we're going to program the robot. That is not the way to do it. If you have to fail, you have to plan. And if you fail to plan, then you're actually planning to fail. I also want to instill good robotics habits amongst your learners. So they really need to make notes, do diagrams, even if it's just scrap or it's not scrap, but rough diagrams. Let them each have a book where they can write down their ideas and write down their thinking and write down what they achieved. And it is good for reference later to see how they've developed and how they have gained their problem-solving skills. For me, the passive attachments are always amazing. I've got one passive attachment here. It was for the, it was it was Nature's Fury, which I think was, I think about the 2013 theme for First Lego League. And the team made this thing and we had to deliver. It's kind of really cool, but it's all got, I don't know if you can see it, it's got an elastic there. So it's triggered on an elastic and it flicked down. And then when it went over the object, it kind of released it. And then, ta-da! This is developed by kids. This is their model. And this is an attachment. So it was attached to the robot on this side. The robot attached to this side. There we go, like that. Like that. Attached in here and pushed it forward and then released. As soon as it hit the object, it released it. This is a passive attachment. It's something that is not powered by motors. Okay. And on that note, we are done for the day. This is M1. This is the whole of M1. We are going to set up the recordings as soon as Casper gets a moment. We do need to take note that he does have a full-time job now. So we're very grateful that he's volunteered to help us out. But there are other recordings of M1s, I think from 2023. You're welcome to watch them until we get this series edited and then uploaded to our YouTube channel. Okay, so I want to thank everybody. I want to thank my team. Thank you, team. I know today was not easy. We all experienced different degrees of load shedding. We've been running around. I have got a laptop that's microphone and camera have now just died on me. At least I've got power now and my internet is working again. So, but we pulled it off. Thank you to the team. I can always rely on you. I feel like we need to have a more practical programming. We're happy to do that. We have started looking towards how to teach programming in the classroom. That will be addressed. And I will upload the PowerPoint presentations probably before midnight tonight, depending on the power. Okay. Tumelo, any last words from you?
Thank you so much, Dr. Hoos, and thank you so much to our online participants, and thank you so much to our colleagues. And yes, this is it from us, and we really appreciate you joining us. For those that are watching the recording, we also like to thank you as well. Thank you for taking the time. And by the way, thank you so much, Dr. Hoos, for giving us answers to some of the M1, M2, M3, and M4. Others didn't notice, but I noticed. But thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Yes, thank you, Tumelo. Yes, M1 is much easier in the sense that you only have to do your MCQ question quiz for each unit, and then kind of to round it off, you've got a challenge. I see our time is up, but I will talk about that also tomorrow, and we're going to launch the virtual gear, which we're very excited about. And then we're also launching our new project with the chess. We are teaching teachers chess. And so we're very excited about that as well. So that is in store for tomorrow. So please join us. I'll start with the M1 challenge. Then I will launch the virtual gear challenge. And then Milan will and her team will introduce the chess that we've got in store for you. All right. I'm happy. Go and have a wonderful Valentine's Day.